Bailey. Looking at this in a more specific way. Really great stuff, like I said. Glad to see this coming along. Thanks for including this opening line about like, hey, yeah, what's your deal?
Yeah, what's your deal?
I think, so my thoughts about that is she's already looking at the supposed speaker, you know, and then she kind of breaks eye contact to look at her nails. I think maybe I would start her instead, like looking, like already kind of looking away at her nails. Don't follow my drawings, please, because I don't give notes like that with like perfect drawings. But whatever your pose is, that she's kind of like not focused on this guy and looking at that bit where she's looking at her hands or nails or whatever. This is my terrible drawing of a hand. Is that even the right hand? Maybe that's the wrong hand. Anyways, and then right before she starts saying like, oh yeah, or maybe as the guy's talking, then she's going to throw her gaze over that way and then start engaging with him. I think that's like a nicer way to kind of start this off, because right now her gaze is like here. So maybe, you know, let's get something that could be a bit of a nicer contrast and have her gaze here, and then maybe her eyes go over here first before she has any kind of like body reaction. So I would say also that all of that, let's support that by bringing the hand over more screen left. I think that's kind of how I would start this. So she's like, she's not engaged at all, but then the eyes begin to engage like you have here. This is nice. And then, so yeah, maybe this is earlier in the piece. I know that I'm going to try to get some specifics in here, but I think you understand. Hopefully you understand kind of what I'm talking about. So in here, like her torso has moved a little bit this way, right? So maybe we keep a more in the beginning. Again, I'm just talking about the beginning. I don't mean to overdo it, but maybe like you have that same idea where when she's looking away, her torso is like more leaned left like this. And then like we talked about, the eyes engage first, and then this, whoops, sorry, by here, like this is nice because the head and the eyes start to engage the speaker. So I think that's kind of the way to play it, is that she doesn't easily or initially be engaged with him. Like here she's glancing at him already. And I think maybe, yeah, I think maybe both of these poses, kind of like this checking out my nails pose, and then the other one that she goes to here, this pose, can be like kind of during that guy's opening thing, like, hey, what's your deal? Showing that she's paying attention to herself and not really paying that much attention to him. And then she starts to engage here. I think that's the way to go. I don't like love this hand pose here as to get a transition between here and here. You know, I think when I acted out myself to try to get from here, let me find a clean frame. So let's say that we're here, although again I've suggested that we push it over to the right a little bit, but I think the principles and ideas of it will be the same about what I'm about to say. So maybe like this is, okay, cool. So that's one, and then we're going to this one here. So what's that in between? What can we do? I would think I would just talk about like maybe swinging the hand. I'm going to turn on ghosting. It's going to be a hot mess. Maybe I can turn down the number of frames, but let's see. Okay. Right. So I can sort of see what's going on. So if this is the back, you know, this is the back of her, so let me redraw this. So this is the back of her hand. Sorry that I'm working this out in real time in front of you or whatever. But if this is the back of the hand and we're going here, you know, maybe the hand swings like down from here, right? And then it will swing up to there. You know, like really think about the breakdowns of how the hand gets from one pose to the other, because like describing how she does that move is going to be like the first step to our audience, kind of. Hopefully this makes sense. Let me turn off ghosting. Yeah, that's sort of intelligible. You know, it would like swing flat. So if like these are her knuckles here, these are her knuckles there, right? And then when she pops it up, then the knuckles and the back side of her hand are going to be facing her face. But this is backside, backside, front, kind of something like that, you know? So really start thinking about like those in-betweens and breakdowns and how you want to get from pose to pose and how you can kind of introduce more character-defining moments for her. So that turn is nice. I like that it's like just in the head. There's something kind of strange happening in the neck for my taste. Like it feels like the neck is kind of angled up in this way, and then here it feels like it's kind of rotating this way. And I think the neck needs to kind of more support the head. So if the head looks to the right, I think the opposite should happen, is that maybe we get a little right bend out of the neck. And if it feels too like bent when we get there, then maybe you just want to flop the head positions. But I don't know. I think going from this neck to something more, just a little bit more rotated down may look fine. But yeah, I do this all the time where I'll rotate ahead and want to move the neck, but then the neck looks broken. So then I realize, okay, well, on this earlier pose, I need to like rotate it back a little bit so that maybe this is my extreme. So just play with that stuff. So this I just transferred. She breaks eye contact again. I'm not sure about that, but maybe she could eventually. I don't know, just something to think about where she leans forward. I'm not seeing that in your reference that you like broke eye contact. Like here, it's like actually on that lean in is right when you establish eye contact again. I mean, it's nice to glance over, but like, yeah, maybe once you move over here, I think maybe you have to at least start with eye contact with the speaker, you know, and then maybe there's a point where during the shrug she breaks eye contact or something, but I don't know. I don't know that it's necessarily right there. Think about it. Think about what you want to say. That shrug is nice, but I bet, you know, we could get a little bit more of the body involved in there. It doesn't have to be huge stuff. I think too, like save, like right now I'm seeing like the hips rotate and stuff here. So I would save that kind of stuff. It doesn't make sense that the hips would rotate at all to me right here. What would make more sense to me is that I see a little bit more shape change in the torso, just a little bit, just a little lifting, or maybe a little bit of rotating back in space, just a tiny bit, to kind of support that shoulder shrug. You know, at least the upper torso, starting from like mid-chest, may rotate a little bit back to support that shrug. You might even be able to like translate it just a tiny, tiny bit to show the torso just lengthening ever so slightly. These are going to be subtle things. You want it to feel, you want to feel it more than you want to be able to see it. And the same as when she goes down, like this looks like it's purely just in the shoulders. And we want to see like maybe potentially a tiny rotation forward on the chest, maybe a tinier rotation here, but maybe we can also like untranslate the top here. When I say top, I'm assuming that this rig has like FK or IK spine controllers here, so you're able to translate this one up and down a little bit and affect the length between this area of the body or whatever. But again, this should be more felt than seen. And then, yeah, again, like this is cool. This feels appropriate. This moment feels appropriate to have changes happening to like the pelvis and the center of gravity, the cog on the character and stuff. But maybe if you're gonna also like come over this way, maybe you want to introduce like a slight tipping up of this hip. Again, it has to be really subtle and small, and you want to understand that like this is going to be your anchor point. So if you rotate the pelvis, right, what's going to happen is this part of the pelvis is going to want to go down, and this part is going to want to go up. And what you want to do is then like get it where this part, this area that sank, you want that to feel like a pivot point. So you may have to like translate the cog up or something, and these are all subtle movements, but you want it to feel like you're going from here, you know, to something just slightly tipped up here, where this is your anchor point that kind of stays, that's the thing that stays grounded, right? So because the pelvis rotates from just like a center point here, you have to use a little translation too to ensure that your anchor point looks like it's staying locked there, right? Because we can't really move the rotational anchor point down here. I don't know that the Maya really allows you to do that, so you have to use a little translation offset and all that. But that was a lot to talk about, just to say, you know, these moves here should feel really grounded and stuff. And also, you know, you can think about how the cushion may have a little give here, and you're gonna have to like imply that by like carefully animating your character up and down on the sofa a little bit. You can animate that. Okay, so anyways, this pose is pretty cool. Obviously, we're getting some penetration from these hands. These fingers still look like they're in the, like looking at my nail polish pose. So let's like thoroughly work through the whole pose and make sure it's doing what you want it to do. This hand maybe needs to be, you know, relaxed, or whatever this hand pose is. Like here, your hand pose in your reference is very different. Whatever you want it to be is fine, but just make sure that we're fully resolving these poses at this point. You may also want to try to get a little bit more tip up, a little bit more like maybe we can push this pose to be a little bit more extreme. I don't know how much we want her to be like leaning in to the speaker right now, because that's also going to imply something if she's like really kind of leaning towards him. But what we want is for these poses to be as appealing as possible, to convey weight and stuff as much as possible. So maybe this can be pushed a little bit more, which will give you nice contrast when you go to your next pose, which is like here, you know what I mean? Like here, all the weight comes off of this straight arm here, right? So then that would make this shoulder drop like you have it, and we're going to really see that like contrast. But this is nice. This got much more appealing, this pose. So what I'm seeing between these two poses is there's like some rocking down here, some rocking up here, and that feels not motivated, especially because her weight, I don't know, her weight's going. So that you might just need to think about that. Think about where you want your anchor to be and all that stuff there. This feels like maybe like a slide over a little bit and that. So really like all of this stuff, like where her weight is while sitting, this has to be like very carefully considered and designed. But I think once you do that, if you get that right, it's going to feel great. It's going to feel like she's alive and kind of moving around a little bit. I know it's like there may be things you're observing for your reference, because like I'm seeing how like this edge moves here, that maybe you're trying to recreate here. But really think about like it's more like here's the sofa, and she's kind of like almost like this. This is just a way to think about it. It's not reflecting the reality. But yeah, when her weight goes over here, it's like you want her to be like kind of rolling like this, you know, and really think about like where these anchor points are and stuff. I mean, this is extreme. I'm I'm just trying to do that to kind of like exemplify the concept. Again, here, like fully work out the pose. Like this wrist feels really broken here. These fingers are still the nail polish thing. So what would her hand look like as she's like bringing it up to her mouth? You know, her fingers might be like kind of curled down like that. You know, so every pose, fully resolve it before adding in new poses. Because if you don't, you're just going to be carrying these like bad finger poses forward from pose to pose to pose, you know. So if this hand is going to move forward, then it's like she's taking her weight off of it in order to slide it forward, and that's going to require some, like she's going to have to, you're going to have to show that, right? If she's taking her weight off of it, you're going to have to show the torso like backing off of being so leaned over on it, and that she's going to have to pick it up and slide it forward. So if that's not an important bit for you, because that's like some business right there, like in your reference here, you put your hand down there, but your weight really isn't on it until you start leaning on it, and maybe the hand moves a little, but it almost looks like it's just pressing its weight into whatever that surface is. So maybe you want to do that more than actually like slide the hand screen right. You know, this pose got a lot more appealing. I like it now, you know. This is great. Maybe we can, this feels natural to me, so I'm not really sure exactly what to do or if it's possible, but there's like, I wonder if there's any way to get this hand more out in space in clear silhouette, or maybe there's a way to like pull this arm back, but this pose is like, it feels very natural and it works, so maybe that's not a really important note right now. So I like that you did some breakdowns to eliminate the scissoring here. I kind of like this hand angle a lot, but again, do your finger poses. Broken record. I know. You know now that that is a thing that's important, so I'll mention it only briefly. But then, so this pose into this pose, and then the hand seems to do, it goes forward here, right? So you're going to put it on that leg, but then it like kind of immediately retreats from it. So if you're going to put it on that leg, keep it on that leg for a little bit, because the hand movement from here to here is taking away attention from here, which is really where we want the attention. So if it's going to go there, leave it there. So it's like this hand gesture, like I'm finding myself. This almost looks like, I know oh, I see what you're doing on your reference. So I'm reading it very differently in step blocking. Like in your reference, like this is kind of your gesture from like, you just kind of hold it there for a bit. In your blocking right now, it looks like almost like a dismissive wave, but I think that's just because we don't have those other poses worked out there. If you're going to do this, I would really make sure that the hand looks like it's resting and like hanging down in some pose. Really make sure it looks like it's relaxed, which is like bend it at the wrist here. That bend at the wrist here to here is going to show us that it's relaxed and not like just on there, but yeah.
Yeah, that's your deal. I haven't seen you before.
Oh, yeah, I just transferred. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah, I think too, just as far as eye direction goes, she breaks eye direction here and turns her head, and I think when she turns her head, that the eye direction also, like she's turning her head to reestablish eye direction if she breaks it before, so I would keep eye direction there. Mm-hmm. See any last little things?
Honestly, like, I guess you could say I'm kind of like,
I like how she like leans forward on that hand, you know what I mean? So I'm seeing if I want to second guess any of my notes. Yeah, I don't think so. I think all this stuff looks great. Maybe this isn't that she has all of her weight on this arm. Maybe it's more just like she repositioned it, but I do kind of like the idea of it, so maybe it is a good idea to have her kind of like pull the weight off of it to adjust forward. You know, I kind of feel like whatever this hand pose is here, it should be the same kind of position here, where I've already had the arrow. Anyways, that's plenty. That's plenty to chew on.
Honestly, like,
This is coming along great, Bailey. Keep up the good work, and yeah, I'll see you in class.